What's going on? This is Rad with another great episode of SOFREP Radio. As always, I have my dad hanging out with me above the fireplace, and I have a very special guest all the way from Portsmouth, England, at Fort Cumberland, where Napoleon and the French tried to battle the British, is Gary Weaving. Now, I'm not saying Gary tried to battle the French. I'm saying Gary is at Fort Cumberland, where I'm just going to say it, the SBS was formed, which is like the Special Boat Service, which is equivalent to the Special Air Service. So if you've ever played Call of Duty and you played the SAS characters, or you ever play Counter-Strike video games and you play the SAS characters, or you know about the SAS raids, saving hostages, SBS is equal, right? And so where Gary is at right now, to my guests listening, is at the foundation, the where life was created for the SBS. Gary, welcome to SOFREP Radio.
Hi, Raj. Thank you very much. And hi to all the SOFREP listeners. Thanks for having me on board. It's absolutely amazing you've got me here today. Yeah, going into what you was just saying, the Special Boat Service were actually formed after the SAS. And they were actually formed and they were called the Cockle Shell Heroes. And they actually went off as an elite training unit to go undercover and blow up some German ship, put it that way. And we knew they were formed here because it's written in the history. But when we actually look further into it, this is the exact office they were formed. Where I am sat now, apparently was the officer in charge. This is where his bed was, and it's documented that he sat on his bed and went, we need to form a new organisation. And actually something's quite funny's come to me, because I'm involved with various history groups, things like that, and they've actually managed to get one of the original canoes that is in kit form. And we have it here now.
Say that one more time, Gary. Say that one more time. I'm having a little hard time hearing you right there. A little choppy. What was the gift? What was it that he had there?
Well, they actually, this history group that celebrate history and remembrance, have actually managed to track down one of the original Cockle Shell Heroes canoes, and it's actually in kit form.
Oh.
And it's actually here in our charity today, and we're actually going to put it back together on site where they would have built it in the first place, and we're trying to get some SPS veterans to come down and join in that rebuild, and then it's going to be shown in the museum, and the history of how it's done a full cycle in life is going to come back to this project.
Right.
So I'm really pleased to be actually part of the history and the foundation, not only of the SBS, but also the military history of this fault.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Now, I had the pleasure to come and meet you at this office, in this room. We shared tea, we had stories, we got to walk around the fort and check out the services that you provide. You see, to my listener, you may not know this, but Gary is a 10-year veteran Royal Marine, served in campaigns
Royal Engineer
in Afghanistan. Royal Engineer. Yeah. Royal Engineer. Royal Engineer. And so basically sapper, right? You used explosives and set up charges. Tell us what that is.
Well, I as a civilian, I actually had trade skills. And what I wanted to do is go into the army and not just be a sort of gun for hire and be trained in just a weapon. I wanted to also keep a civilian trade as well. And actually, the Royal Engineers in the British Army is one of the most diverse corps there is. And when I was going through selection, they kept telling me, come back and lose 4 seconds and you can join the Paras. But that actually just makes you one type of person. So I said, no, thank you, because actually in the Royal Engineers, you can become commando trained, para trained, diver trained, and a whole list of different trades. I never did go down the paras because I'm not the right sort of physical structure. You've got to be that sort of right build to do it. You know, I'm built for strength, for speed, and there's the problem, you know. So I joined the Royal Engineers in the year 2000. I went. I got through basic training. I was a combat engineer, so that went into bridge dens, construction, landmines, blowing shit up, building shit, blowing shit up again. You know. But he also, I had my civilian training, which was along the building lines, and that was something I did pre-thing. But it actually, because I was a very good builder, so prior experience, it actually landed me in a building squadron. And one thing, you know, I don't claim to have served, you know, an elite career and taken 1,000 lives and seen and done some of the stuff that yourself has and some of the guys and like my ambassador Phil Campion. But the reality is we did something that was actually very important. It was my squadron that went in on Op Peric. We were the Op Peric 1. We were the first boots on the ground for the whole of the Op Peric conflict. And as you know, everything and all the infrastructure was actually in the north. So, and the south was completely lawless and actually the worst place. So we realised as a British Army, we've got to build a functional base there, and then build out to the FOBs and stuff like that beyond that point. And we were very unprepared. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, half of us didn't have the right kit on. Some of us had broken bits of kit. And, you know, I was actually carrying a weapon that we couldn't repair. So it fired, but it wasn't working properly. And it was very quick. They decided, we're in, we're going. And there was no direct flights. There was none of this sitting on an RAF, you know, plane getting served meals. It was literally, you know, cargo planes sat on your day sack, no luxuries. It took nearly 4 days to get there because there was no direct flights, and we had to stop in certain countries to refuel. So we've landed in Kandahar and literally came off absolutely starving, hadn't had any decent sleep, got our Bergens, got our weapon rolls, and off we went to the American Scoff House. And because the Kandahar didn't have a British Scoff House at that stage, I was like, wow, these guys. No wonder some of your soldiers are big guys, mate. And the food, I was like a kid in a candy shop, you know. I was like, wow. So done my Bergen by the door, joined the queue, and I'm watching a T-bone steak. It was massive. And I was thinking, why do we not get it? Why do the Brits not get this? Why do we not get this? But they do look after
why?
They do look after their soldiers food-wise, you guys. I've got to give it to you. So I'm dribbling over this steak, and staff come running up to me and went, "You right, Cass?" And I went, yeah. I said, "I'm looking forward to that steak." He went, "Unlucky." I went, "What?" He went, "Get your section, you're going in." And I said, "Going in where?" You know, my first tour. I was a bit green to it all, and I was like, "What have we got? O group? We got a meeting? We got a plan saying what we doing?" He said, "No, the Chinook is waiting. You are literally going in right now." And I was like, "Oh," and I thought, "Is this a good thing? You know, have I been chosen because I'm the man, or have I been chosen because I'm a fool?" And everyone else is going to sunbathe and eat Pizza Hut in Kandahar.
You've been chosen because you have this beautiful, gorgeous steak in front of you that you want to eat. That's why you got chosen.
So literally, 15 Royal Marines, 15 Royal Engineers, march straight out, fold straight on a Chinook. And I will never forget what troop he said to me. I was one of the last people going on, and he said, "Gary, I hope you know air power's 2.5 hours away, and if you get in trouble down there, you're on your own." And I was like, winner. Absolute winner. And that was the moment. That was the moment I thought, this is serious now. This is what being in the army was going to be like. You know, this is the danger. This is the element. It was relatively a safe tour.
So you're going
You
in.
know? We were
Yeah.
very,
Now you're
very
really going in.
well. There was no armored vehicles. It was soft skin vehicles. We're travelling around. We're getting O groups every day going, you're going to be hit by an IED tomorrow. We got intel. I mean, I'm chucking sort of 20 odd, basically kids in the back of a soft skin vehicle going, we get IED, you might as well kiss each other's asses because we're gone, you know? So, you know, even the thought of not having the protection around you and not having the luxuries that you need to try and survive was quite a daunting thing, you know. And we literally started with nothing but washing up bowls in a tent, eating rations, 24-hour rations, and literally every helicopter that turned up, they gave us more stuff. Every lorry that turned up, we opened it, there was more gear. And we started off with 30 blokes stood in washing up bowls to a camp that was absolutely humongous. And I'm trying to think of a state or a part of your country that actually resembles the size of what Camp Bastion was in the end. You know, and I stood there that first morning and I said to my mate, I said, so where's the camp going to be? And he went, do you see the horizon? And I went, yeah. He went, it's going to end there. And I was like, are you joking? And we were so unprepared. They'd so underestimated how long this camp was going to be built that within 6 weeks, we realised we had to get a lot of local employed chogies to come down, 300 of them. We basically said, you're not allowed to leave the wire. You're going to get paid well, but you need to work with us, you know. And slowly but gradually, more turned up, more kit. Then the medics came in. Then the Operic 3 lot came in, which were the more senior medics. Then it was the paras. So literally, at the end of the 6 months, we were getting on. We'd built a runway, we'd built super hospitals, super kitchens. It was like a massive, very large town. Roads. I was involved in the ammo dump. I was involved, and I remember this SAS colonel turning up, right, quite high ranking, and he said, "This is the biggest military take-in the British forces have ever had since World War II." You know, and you know, were we the glory? No, the paras, the Royal Marines, they got that. You know, but the reality is they couldn't have done what they did without the blood, sweat and tears that we put in. And we were literally working 15, 16-hour days, 7 days a week. We did never stop once. And luckily, by the time we left, it was operational fit, ready for the paras to come in and start working some months. And actually, what made it for me out there, okay, was the people. Was the actual people, because I had facial hair. I've always been a bit older than my years, so I got away with it. And I was a bit older than your usual sort of large corporal. And to the elders, to the people, to the supervisors, that's a big thing in their culture. So I used to have to go and pick them up every morning. They were right in the far corner in their own little compound. And I used to have to go over every morning. Like, I was like the child catcher. Literally, you know, like the story of the rat, Pied Piper. That's what it was like.
Oh yeah, for sure. Come with me. Yeah, exactly.
You know that story. And what I realised, is they absolutely loved the boiled sweets in the ration bags. So I'd go around all the blokes, going, "Give us your boilies, give us your boilies." You know, and I'd go over every
candies,
morning,
give me your treats,
and they'd all file up. Right, and then as they all came in, I was like, so I'd give them a boilie each. You never see such appreciation. But at the end of the day, this is terrible. But this is Scotty humour. This is British humour for you. And actually, it was wonderful to see that these guys found this funny. So at the end of the day, the supervisor, the main elder, used to bring me over a new man. We never picked on the same ones because we're not bullies. He used to bring me a new man, and we used to tie his, over his eyes, and we used to play hide the flip flop.
Sure.
And every night we'd hide their eyes and we'd bury their flip flops in the sand, and then we'd all sod off and leave him there to look for them. And their humour, actually, they found it amazing. One thing did happen one day, though, that was a bit naughty. They're not used to Western women. They're not used to Western women, full stop. They're not used to Westerners down there. You know, many of them.
Right, let alone Western women.
Yeah, they said, we've never seen a white man before. Never, ever seen a white man ever. So we have some magazines that were big in that era called Nuts or Zoo. And it was like a lad's mag. And you also had glamour models in there. Well, one day, and the families were sending them over, and we were reading ones that are like months, 6 weeks out of date. But it was keeping us in touch with back home. Well, one day, one of them came over, and I was looking at this magazine, and his eyes, he was like, oh. And he said, can I have? And I thought, well, I've read it.
Can I have?
didn't really think too much into it. I was like, yeah, go on, mate. Go on, knock yourself out, literally. So I've given him this magazine. Oh, my God. A massive fight kicked off. There's a big bundle of local employed chogies all fighting. And there were blokes running off in their flip-flops with like a little bit of tit. You've never seen anything like it in my life. And then literally,
just like a little piece. Just a little piece. They just got a piece of it.
Happy as Larry. Off they went.
Well, and that's amazing because, oh my God, Gary, that's crazy because like the kids, the people, they've never seen that.
Yeah. Well, when I was out there, I had a lot of respect for my supervisors. You know, Abdul and Fido, they were called. Like to old dance, wasn't too sure what that was all about, but it's a cultural thing. And they actually saved my life one day because I used to have to sit with them. They'd get funny about me going to sit with the men. So if we had a break, I had to sit with the supervisors. Cultural thing again. So
wait, say that one more time. If you had to do what? Wait, say that one more time. That kind of got blurred right there. If you had to do what? You were sitting with them and what?
When it comes to break times, I wasn't allowed to go and sit with the regular men. I had to sit with the supervisors because they saw me as a supervisor. So me and Abdul and Fido used to go off and have our break. And we were keeping our weapons in an ISO because we were so in the middle of the camp at that point that they were close but not on us, you know, locked. So if it all went off, we could have just quickly unlocked it, got the weapons out, and we were going. But I'm sitting there with my sword vest on, and I had a knife here. I always kept my knife on me. Practical, sensible. You don't know what's going to go on, you know. So I'm sat there against the HESCO walling, and talking to these two guys. And the next thing, one of them's just got up and gone crunch straight into my chest. And it startled me. And I thought to myself, it's kicking off. So I've gone like that, pulled out my knife as if to say, I'm going to protect myself. And one of them was like, oh. And I've looked, and there was this little black, brown spider running off. And it turned out Vito went and got the translator, came back, and it turned out I had one of the most poisonous spiders in Afghanistan climbing up my chest. And he actually punched the spider and me to get it off of me. And if I'd been bitten, there is no cure, and I probably would have died there and then. So actually,
Gary,
I really respect those guys. And if you treat them like humans, treat them with respect, give them their cultural
Right.
respects and there's respect they go. They're just people. And you know what? They'd follow
Yeah.
anyone out there. All they want is healthcare, schooling, quality of life, and safety. You know, and there's a lot
That's really
about should we have gone, should we have not have gone, was it our war? But for 20 years, those people had a lot more safety and hope that life would get better than they've ever had in years. So it was such a shame. And when it came to us pulling out of Afghanistan, a lot of my younger veterans are Afghanistan and Iraq veterans. And we had to throw a massive camp at the drop of a hat because a lot of them couldn't deal with it. But that's moving probably on to the next subject.
right. Yeah, because now that you've gone through, that style of life and you've been deployed and now you're coming back to your homeland, things aren't always the same as they seem. And I should have mentioned in the very beginning that you run and help organize the Forgotten Veterans United Kingdom UK, Forgotten Veterans UK website and program where you reach out and help veterans in their lowest possible space of life where no one thinks that they deserve any help. And then there's Gary. And I just want you to know, Gary, that you're a shining star in the galaxy. Okay, bro? Yeah, I just want you to know that. And if anybody listening to this, if you're in England, if you're in the UK and you're listening to this and you're at this breaking point, I want you to listen to Gary right now. Okay. And I want you to also check out Forgotten Veterans UK on the web. So Gary, tell us about what you're doing at Fort Cumberland with those, I want to call them Quonset huts, but they're not that. They're like, what are they called? Sherpas live in them. What are you?
Casements.
Yeah, yurts. It's a yurt. Yes, it's a yurt.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Well, look.
Yeah. Thanks, mate.
Right. the truth of it is, okay, our government, and I'm going to say this, and people like me because I say it as it is, don't have to agree with me, but it is my opinion. Our government has not done enough to support the troops. They did do some stuff, and they were funding a lot of certain organisations, okay, but it wasn't enough. And there's been some very good people in the government, in the NHS, in the large charities that have dedicated their lives and worked very hard to help us. And I'm not taking anything away from them, but it wasn't enough. It was nowhere near enough. I got medically discharged with neck and spinal injuries and long-term nerval damage. Also really undiagnosed mental health problems, and you don't actually have to have stress from war to cause stress in your job. I should imagine it relates very much to the American Army. Even when we're in rest periods, even when we're not on operations, you're put against each other, you're put in competitions. You've got to be the fastest, the best, the strongest. You can't show weakness. You're not allowed to show emotion. There's a phrase in the British forces that have done more harm than anything else, and I refuse to have it said in this talk. And that is the phrase "man up." For years, anyone that's shown any anxiety, any weakness, but weakness within right, has been told to man up and get on with it. And let's be honest, if you can't talk about your feelings, you can't talk about your emotions, you can't talk about your traumas, you can't talk about the things that you've seen or the situations you've been within or how things have affected you, and you get told that it's weak to have a voice, it's weak to show emotion. They want to see a robot, a yes man, a soldier, then of course people's mental health and people's attitudes and people's situations in life are really going to decrease. and get worse. And when I came out of the army, I couldn't return home because it was pre-Armed Forces Covenant and I couldn't get housed. I ended up in quite a rough estate from an area I don't even know, with no support network, no family network, and no ongoing service. So what do you think is going to happen? I'm going to take my traumas and injuries from my forces that I bled green. I wanted to serve for the rest of my life, you know? And when things went wrong and I got the injuries I did and the lack of support and help I did from within the service, it just destroyed me. It destroyed my soul. It destroyed self-worth, my self-satisfaction. You don't need to have seen your mate blown across your face to have that. You know, it's a natural reaction to life. Okay. And then, of course, I turned into a recluse. I didn't go out. I pushed my friends away. I pushed my family away. I started to abuse drugs, pharmaceuticals, alcohol. You know, I tried to get help. I reached out to the NHS on 3 separate occasions, but the system wasn't designed then to really help us. The NHS left it to the large charities because they're so well funded. The large charities said, well, you're not our problem. You should be the NHS's, you know? And there were some good services out there, but it was nowhere near enough, you know? And so
now NHS for my listener, that means, isn't that National Hospital Services, or what's the NHS in England?
National Health Service.
National Health Services,
We're unlike you guys. You guys pay for the nose for healthcare. We get it as a given in our country.
Yeah, we do.
Right. If you're able to pay tax and your stuff like that, then it gets taken from your tax. Okay? And it's not that they didn't want to help, they just didn't understand us. And in the 80s and 90s, various British governments closed the war hospitals to save money, but they didn't fund or train the NHS to support us guys. So, of course, 30 years later, you've got the biggest tsunami of mental health, anxiety, nightmares, PTSD, drug and alcohol, because we didn't feel like we fitted in with the civilian world. And so we've kind of created this whole wave ourselves by lack of funding, lack of investment, and lack of understanding that we're not your average civilian. We look at things differently, we act to things differently, we got different, differences like you wouldn't believe. Okay? But they don't understand.
You're programmed differently, yes.
Well, the British Army breaks your mindset and creates you into what they want. They turn you into someone, what they need. We deal with that with dark, inappropriate, over-sexualized banter, humor, and that's how we cope with the stress of our day jobs. But what they don't do, once you're injured, once you come to the end of your service, if you were good enough and strong enough and didn't pick up injuries to do the full service, then hats off to these guys.
Right.
If you had the mentality and the body structure and the passion to become elite like you guys, then I give you so much respect. It wasn't for me, you know? We're all different, but we're all small cogs of a big wheel, and that's the truth. Okay?
Right.
But they don't unmake
we all
you.
Are.
They don't unmake you. So you bring out these behavioural patterns, you bring out the traumas of service, added to the traumas before service, during service, after service. You don't feel like you're fitting back in. You know, you feel like you've lost the family, like you've lost your brothers, your sisters, you know, and a lot of these guys have come in from kids, so they know nothing else. So to be pushed back into a civilian world, which is completely foreign to us, is a difficult thing to do, Rad. Difficult. Not all struggle. We know that, but a lot do.
Right.
you know, and it's because there hasn't been
And
enough.
again, they're taught to they're taught to keep it inside, right, Gary? You're taught to keep it inside. You're
and
not.
not
You're supposed to
and
like
not
just
show.
you know
You know, I'd
yeah,
rather
and
deal
walk
with
around with
emotion.
this shell of a person.
You know, you're a big guy, Rad. You're a trained guy. I'd
Yeah.
rather put you on my shoulder and have you snotting on it than having have to deal with your anger and start rolling around the floor
Yeah.
with you. You know, there's nothing wrong with emotion. It's much easier to do than deal with anger. You know,
Yes.
and the forces have had to change their ways. Some say it's gone too soft. Some say it all depends where you look at it from and who you are. You know, you special
Right.
forces guys have got a mindset that is beyond other people's. But even you guys break. Even you guys have emotions. Even you guys absorb trauma, whether it's from life or from service. And if you don't keep a check on it, you don't talk about it, you don't deal with it, you don't go to the right people, you don't keep off the alcohol, the drugs, you know, it will explode. And
right.
and this is what seems to be going on in our community. It seems to be exploding.
Yes.
So I came out
Here
I
too,
didn't have
in the
a support.
U.S. In the U.S. as well. Yeah, I just want you to know that it's the same here as well as in the UK.
I watch you guys all the time.
100%.
This is why I'm really pleased to be able to get to your audience, because just because we're Brits, just because we talk into slightly different lingo, we're obviously more attractive and sexy. That goes without saying. But because of that, it doesn't mean we're not all flesh and blood. You know, we all still piss and shit,
exactly,
just like everybody else. Okay. But the reality of it is, if you let these problems keep going, if you keep letting these problems keep building, the more you let your negatives in your life start to build, the more they start to get out of control. You've got a life full of negatives and you've got a life full of positives. You have, I have, we all have. The more depressed you are, the more you rheumatize, the more you catastrophize, the more you avoid and do not deal with those negatives, the worse they get. So what we do with my charity is we help you identify what negatives can you change and what negatives you can't you. Because until they develop a pill, Rad, that makes that crazy shit go away, right, out of your memory for good, then you're gonna have to deal with it. You've got to. So all you can do, all you can do with a negative you can't change, a trauma experience, an emotion, is look at it, learn from it, grow from it, and march on. And if you can digest it like that, a massive negative in your life becomes education and suddenly become a huge positive. And that is what I learned to do.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say that.
There's parts of my career and life I cannot change. I can be angry at the world. I was so angry. I never left my house. I refused to engage. I just wanted to die. I gave up hope. I gave up the willing to live. I couldn't see my beautiful wife, healthy children, roof over my head and car, which is more than some veterans have got. All I could do was catastrophize and focus on the negatives. So we help them digest what they can't change and learn from it. But we help them identify what they can change. And if you've got debt, then we need to look at your debt. We need to get you to the right advisors. We need to get you to the right charities. If you've got a miserable wife that you're not getting on with, then bring her down and we'll sit all together. We'll counsel her. We'll give her therapy because she's the big part of this. If you've got a bottle of gin,
100%,
you sat on the side, you can stop drinking that. It is a choice. And if you get the right therapy, you get the right treatment, you get the right alcohol support, you can move on from that. If you've got a massive great hole in your ceiling and it's dripping and it's mouldy and you sat there in a grim, dirty old front room thinking, how am I ever going to solve this? We'll come around and fix it. We'll fix that ceiling, we'll paint that front room, and will give you and will show you that that negative is actually quite changeable. When you're not involved in
Yes.
someone's emotions, it's very easy for you to stand back and identify easy pathways to deal with it. So it's a knock-on effect. The more negatives you improve, the better life gets. The better life gets, the more you notice your positives. The better you feel about yourself, the better morale, the better encouragement, the more passion you get to make things better. And then you start to excel in your positives. If you like fishing, get fishing again. If you like sport, go for a run. I know your depression, your anxiety, your mood is telling you can't, but you can if you deal with those negatives. So there's the theory of
Now
what
that's
we
something where they could even hit you, and they could come and hit you up for that as well through through forgotten veterans. They can
yeah,
say, "I'm having a hard time." The one thing
yeah,
that struck me with you when we
yeah,
were hanging out was you were either getting a phone call or you were working with someone who was on their last moment and they were in
yeah,
despair, and you were like, "Rad,
yeah,
we travel to
yeah,
wherever in England that this person
yeah,
needs us, and we go and take care of them, and you bring
mm,
them back to those yurts where you put them through a program that they've agreed to be a part of, and that
yes,
they're like, this
yeah,
is you're their, you take care of them, you bring them in,
yeah,
you help them snot on your shoulder, if you will,
mm,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
You
If
help
that's
them
what it takes,
understand that's okay.
yeah,
That's what it
yeah.
takes. I'm saying that because you probably had that 100 times.
Look,
Someone crying on you.
I could play the victim card, and I did for many years. I sat in that
Right.
home, uh, convincing myself the whole world hates me. I hate the whole world. I've got no self worth. I've got no self respect. I've got no future. Hope is a massive word in life. You have to have hope, because if you don't have hope, life becomes pointless. If life becomes pointless, it becomes dangerous. Then you give up. But to have hope, you've got to have goals. You've
Yeah.
got to have targets. You've got to have reasons to exist. Set too bigger goals, you will slip that down to hopeless. But the only way you're going to achieve those goals is setting achievable ones and dealing with those bloody negatives that you can change. And and when I
That's
was
right.
at my lowest, okay, when I needed a friend, when I needed someone to guide with me, someone to laugh with me, someone to pick up the phone at 1 o'clock in the morning and say, "Hey, brother, it's going to be okay. I give a damn." There was no one. So I created the Buddy Scheme
Yep.
on Facebook, truly groundbreaking, nothing of its sort. And actually, a year later, Facebook invited me to a World Mental Health seminar and asked me to be their keynote speaker, because they'd never seen
Oh.
their platform and social media be used in this way before. And it's now been copied hundreds and thousands of times, not only by veterans, but now by civilians. When I needed
Right.
$20 to get to a mental health appointment, and I couldn't even afford that, I couldn't get it. I couldn't. There's some great charities out there, RBL, SAPA, that give amazing grants out, but it's not quick, and they know that, you know. So I created something called the Hardship Fund, where people can ring me up and go, "Guys, I need 20 quid for electric. I need school uniform for my kids. I need clothes for a job interview. I need to get to an
Right.
appointment, to get to this." And when you bum someone $50, it's not the end of the world, but to them it's huge. To them it's massive. So
Oh yeah.
we created the
Well,
Hardship.
we seem to be as human, like you say. We're all human. We all want to have the same freedoms and dignity that no matter what our languages are. And so here you are saying, you know what, you need 50 bucks, 50 quid, 50 pounds. Here you go. Okay, you may have 100 and you give them 50, leaving you half, but to them, you've probably allowed them to go to their appointments. You've probably allowed them to
Yeah,
put some type of food on their table.
yeah.
Gary, you're really, I mean, I'm not trying to put you on this pedestal, bro, but there is one that you should be on. And I'm just going to let you know that, because there are other organizations that are trying to help veterans in England, like, Pilgrim Bandits and other people. But what happens is they become stretched.
Yeah.
And now their services are completely full. So what happens is, here in the US, we have the VA, right? The Veterans Administration. So a lot of our veterans, as much as we dog it, as much as they make fun of it, it's still there. Okay. They can still go to the VA hospitals.
Structure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so on my side of the world, if you are listening to this, the VA is very much there to stop you from being, just like Gary. But Gary doesn't have that infrastructure over in England like we do here in the US with the VA. So Gary, I'm just breaking this down. He's a piece of pie of that helping, and he doesn't get paid. Gary's payment is you living and you smiling and you
in
his heart.
That paycheck comes to me in my heart every month. Every time I get a veteran that says thank you to me or my team and genuinely appreciates whatever we've done, however big or small, a little piece of my soul becomes alive again. And there's nothing like one of our slogans is selfless commitment to others. To do something selfless for someone else gives you so much self-respect and so much self-worth that a paycheck could never give me, And again, when it came to my crisis point, when it came to that moment that I'd given up hope, life had become dangerous, I was so mentally ill, I couldn't see the positive, only focus and rheumatize over the darkness. I tried to take my own life in a very serious way, and I'm very lucky to be alive. But one thing that happened before that day was I was in crisis, and I rung up a well-known organisation in the taxi going down the motorway with my sleeping bag. That's all I had. Don't ask me why, but my mindset was everywhere. And I said, I'm in crisis. I need help today. I am going to kill myself today. And this is no fault for them, their own, but they said, we're not set up for this. We can't handle this. We do a lot of mental health, and we help fix people, and we help guide people, we help rebuild people, but we do not offer bonkers crazy shit time. What we need is a reasonably stable veteran to be able to work with them. So again, all I've actually ever created is what I should have had. So we've now got this retreat and this massive fort, where partly sponsored by NHS England, Veterans Foundation, and various other organisations. It hasn't been easy, because I stood up and criticised the system. I sort of told my story, and not all wanted to hear the truth, and I understand why. But I did it for them. I didn't even want to be a charity. I had no aspiration of being a charity. I was just doing things that made me feel better, that was making other people feel better. So what we do here now is 3 different sorts of service. We do a C1, which basically means immediate threat to life. So if a veteran rings me up tonight, 200 miles away at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he says, Gary, I'm going to hurt myself. Gary, I need my help today. I need it now. We will literally get in the bus, bomb up there. It's safe to do so. Go and get them, and we'll bring them to Fort Cumberland for a 4-day, 3-night crisis support break with a small care support team, And just bringing them here for a jolly isn't actually the answer. Building a plan, an immediate, medium, and long-term plan. Building a network for them to go home to. Linking up with organisations that are in their area so they feel supported when they're away.
That's right.
Just as important. We also do a C2, which is, it's not an immediate threat to life, but I am very vulnerable, I am very stressed, and I'm not coping. And we bring them in, same theory, okay? We do a monthly group C3, which is, oh, Christ. When you get 50 or 60 of these in one place, 50 or 60.
Oh, no. Well, that's good, though.
And we're not just
That's
talking
good.
25, 30-year-olds. We're talking 80-year-olds. We're talking we're talking
Sure.
we're talking every corps, every rank, every service, every conflict. Because, this isn't just affecting young people. A lot of these older veterans have been carrying these scars for many, many years and never had the services that we've got now. The Afghanistan, the Iraq veterans complain and say, oh, it's not enough, there's not enough. Well, you should have been around when they were in Northern Ireland, when they were in the Falklands after World War II.
Correct.
There was virtually
Right.
nothing of this sort of assistance, But what we've realised is, it's not a quick fix. You can't do a PowerPoint 2-day course and now you're fixed. It's a marathon, not a race. And they can come back here as regularly as they want. We run something called the 7-step program, and the ones that feel they're capable and are able and we feel are appropriate. Once they show me an area of stability, and they've dealt with a lot of their negatives and they're working on their positives, we then will start giving them more and more responsibility every step of the ladder, and we'll sit back and watch and looking for the cracks and looking for the problems and the extra support and extra work, until we're basically training them to be me, training them to be the next Gaz Weaving. And what it does for them is just as powerful as what it does for me. And I've
and so your staff is there like you, right? They're there to help. They're there with similar experiences to
we have some people that have heard of us and have had previous mental health experience and long careers, or still in mental health, and they come to help us involuntary in their own time. But we also have the ones that I went and picked off the floor at 2:00 in the morning with a handful of pills, we went out and got them off a bridge, or we went and picked them up in the night and we gave them hope, we gave them purpose, we gave them belonging, we gave them a reason to try and a reason to get back on life and start keep pushing and own it again. And they're not all the same, I've got to be straight with you guys. I don't know if this is a problem in America, right? And it's not always a palatable opinion. But in England, the term PTSD is being abused. It's gone too far. We've had a lot of charities jump on it as a moneymaker, and it's nothing,
Yeah.
And they've been diagnosing people without the experience, without the actual history, But there lies the problem. There's not enough services for mental health, but now suddenly there's an influx of PTSD mental health. So of course, if you can't get help in your local town and that, you're now developing the symptoms of PTSD because you can get help for that, And I'm not saying people are abusing it. It has almost become a badge of honor with some people.
Charities, I don't think it's quite the people with the issues that are abusing it. It's the people who are trying to capitalize on those people's vulnerabilities to better themselves. Like I was saying, you take no profit from this, and I thought at least you would pull a salary, a paycheck, and that's the big difference right there. So if someone's pulling a paycheck, just think about that for a second. Gary's given everything he's got.
I didn't start this charity for my benefit. Well, I did. It's benefited me in many
your mental health benefit up here. And in your heart.
I didn't do this for financial gain. I'm not trying to empire build.
No.
I'm not trying to draw big money and get elaborate offices. And, I'm just one of the guys. I'm just one of the men. Just because I'm the CEO, it's only a title. I'm still a person. But do you know what?
Right.
Because I was in care as a child, because I was in a gang in London in the 90s, because I've been to prison for violence and some of my mistakes, right? What it's made me is a very travelled and worldly person. And, you know, when you get taken away into care before you can even walk or talk and put in the care system or fostering system, as you may know it, you know, you're almost having your life choices smashed apart before your very eyes, before you've even been given a chance. Then you end up with the naughtiest kids at the naughtiest schools with the naughtiest classes, and you're never going to get anywhere. And if you hang around in that, you become that. And then it evolved into gang life.
That's right.
All right. And I was never a bad man. There was always this massive, massive heart in here. There was still Gary. I wasn't a wanker. I just behaved like a wanker. There's a difference. And actually, all I was doing as the lead was actually trying to look after my crew, trying to look after my gang, because we were all dysfunctional teenagers without proper homes,
Parents.
And proper
No. That's right. Literally, you guys were, just defending each other, doing what you could to survive. It's called a gang. It's called roughage. It's called, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, you need to eat. Okay. And no one's there to give you any food. And what do you put when you put someone at their very, I totally understand where you're coming from, Gary. And I know
and the
that,
reality
the Gary is in there. Yeah.
I was just an unhappy, nice bloke that didn't have the options, didn't have the love, and didn't have the hope. I gave up hope. I did some time in prison, but you know what? I've done some horrible things. I've done some violent things, right? Things I'm not proud of. But I can look myself in the mirror because I never touched someone that didn't ask for it and didn't deserve it, and that's my only saving grace. But when I came out of prison, I met my wife. I was just 18. I was a mere boy. I thought I was 10 men. I thought I was the man. I thought I was the top dog. I wasn't. I was a complete idiot with grandeurs of illusions, right? But she said to me, do you know what, Gary? I don't see this reputation. I'm not hearing what people say about you. I'm actually seeing a very warm, engaging, caring man, right? That hasn't got excuses for his behaviour, but he has got reasons. And she said, well, do you want to keep gangbanging? Do you want to keep going in prison? Do you want to keep smoking the drugs and doing the wrong? Or do you want to live? And that lady gave me an option. She gave me a positive or a negative road. And I took the positive. And do you know what saved me? Having someone to love, someone to call home, and a reason to try.
Yes.
And when I went into the army, I had to pin down that shit because I was a tasty boy in my day, you know. Not that I was the most biggest of men, but in there, I was massive. And that's a dangerous person, you know. And I had to pin down that. And I had to sort a lot of my stuff out to be able to handle the disciplines of the British forces, okay? But the reality is, actually, it's the naughty ones that make the best soldiers because you've either got it in you or you haven't. It's as simple as that.
You know? It's kind of funny. I'll tell you, Gary, my dad was a Green Beret, Special Forces, you know, the best of the best in the Army here. And a lot of guys that I talk to, yourself, others as well, have all come from something with the same background. My dad was adopted. My dad came from a situation where he was kind of passed around in the bars in Wisconsin when he was a little baby, and the people that owned the bars kind of passed him around as a child, and he grew up in a bar until he was adopted at 12, and then joined the Navy and went at 17 to the Navy in Vietnam, and then became a Green Beret for the rest of my time as my dad. So I talked to a lot of guys who have had some type of like a broken background, you know, where it wasn't just like my dad gave me the home, gave me the mom, gave me the dad, gave me the church to go to every Sunday, gave me some type of structure, you know, but I like to say that it's because he had learned what it is. That's right.
A reason to try, pal. Right. So, you know, I seem to get sent all the veterans that they can't handle, especially the younger ones, you know, all the ones that don't fit into the mold, all the ones that have been on the drugs, been in the prisons, got the deepest, most root set problems, and they walk in here and I close that door and I sit them down and I make something quite clear. I tell them, I fucked this up, I mucked this up, I did this, I pushed that, I abused this. I've done many, many things wrong in my life. And they look at me like I'm mental. Why are you telling me this? And I go, it's quite frank, right? I'm not here to look down on you. I'm not here to judge you. We're both a couple of knobs. I'm just further along in my rehabilitation. And I don't care
it's so
what
true.
you tell me. I don't care what you tell me. I've probably done worse. Right, but I don't care what you tell me as long as you tell me the truth. I can handle truth, but I can't handle bullshit. As soon as I smell that coming, you know, I'm like, this ain't the way our relationship's going to start. And they need that daddy. They need that person on the call. They need that person who's going to pick them up at the police station at 4:30 in the morning and go, what the fuck have you done now? Not, can you do a mood chart and tell me how you feel? Are you feeling angry? You know, that works well for some, but the veteran community, the most troubled ones, they've got to have the straight talking. Some days I'm the mummy, they're in here for the breastfeeding, and they're there, and well, you know, and poor you, and you know,
coddling.
You know. And some days they need a daddy. They need to be told, what the fuck was that?
That's right.
Look at service.
That's exactly right.
Some in the NHS have gone, what, you cuddle them, you hold them, you touch them. Oh, you can't do that. Well, why can't I? You know, we're a brotherhood.
Yes, it's just holistic. It's just it's a holistic medicine, you know, healing. You can heal with the power of hands, you know, hugging. And, you know, there is something that goes along with, you know, when I literally shaking hands with somebody, you connect.
When you've done naked bar sliding with 150 naked squaddies, what's a hug? It's nothing to us. Okay. Right. But the reality is sometimes they need a hug. Right. It's a bit like service.
Yes.
When you do well, you get a pat on the back. You keep doing well, you get a stripe. Yeah, that's the way it works. If you fuck up, you're in front of the badge. Your balls are on the table, and now you own your behaviour.
That's right.
So all I actually give them,
that's right,
what they already know, and it doesn't work for all. I have to be selective. I have to be careful. I have to watch emotion triggers. You know, body language to know when to up it and when to lower it. But sometimes these people need some straight talking, mad. And we're in a safe, cuddly world now. To PC, to woke brigade, and they're not really understanding how we were formed, how we were broken, how we were rebuilt, how we cope with stress, how it's inappropriate, wrong, naughty, over-sexualized, you know. But if you're not going to beat that out, if you're not going to untrain that, that's what we are now in society, okay? And I have some wonderful, wonderful civilians, okay, that have realised they're in our world and they must adjust to us. But we're now in a world where a lot of large organisations, the health services, you know, it's you can't do this and you can't say that, and it's are you a her, a him, a shim, a mestin, you know, and it's all gone so crazy that people are now frightened to give an opinion and
with rules. These people want to put you. They want to. What's the word I'm trying to? They want to, like, you know, stifle you. They want to, like, you know, put chains on you. Still do what you're doing, but don't. It's like, but I can't. I have to break these chains. I have to hug somebody. I've got to maybe get the belt out. I got to, you know, you have a 17th century urinal. You might need to go clean it. Okay.
Yeah. And that's
true.
You know?
I'm just saying.
I walk into
No.
dangerous situations. You know, one time it was
Yes.
mentioned to me by the NHS, maybe you should have body armor and a camera on, right? Do you know what I said to that? There's nothing like a body armor and camera to say you must trust me, but I don't trust you. Simple.
100%.
You know,
100%.
they feel
like,
the love, they feel the
you're
emotion,
right.
they
Yes.
feel the passion, right? I was willing to let the Taliban shoot at me. I'm willing to take a risk and might get a punch in the face or a slap or it kicks off one day, you know. But the military wasn't
Yep.
a job to me. It was a lifestyle. It was everything. And when I lost that, like many, many other veterans, whether their career ended well, with valor, high rank, or injury, or trauma, or addiction, or
Mental illness.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah. When you come out, you've lost that. And for me, selfless commitment to others, the veteran community, what I do has replaced that massive hole. And someone said to me, Gaz, if you could wake up quite a few pounds lighter without all the operations and the health conditions, would you go back in tomorrow? And I looked them square in the face and I said, no, I won't. And they went, that surprises me, Gaz, because you're clearly a leader. And I said, that I am.
Yeah.
But I was one of 80,000 told where to stand, where to go, and what to do. Here, I'm a person, and I can serve my country and serve my community far greater than I ever could before. I'm now quibbling, because I am a little bit bonkers, about whether I should be going out to Ukraine. Not to fight, but we met the veterans, the Ukrainian veterans minister at our ambassador's party at Westminster recently. She nearly became the Prime Minister of Britain. Yes. Sadly, she didn't get the position, and I think the country's going to be a loss for that. But we met the Ukrainian veteran minister, and they made it quite clear we don't even have a mental health system, let alone something for the veterans. And they are very, 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 very worried about what they're going to do with some of the traumas and the injuries, not just from the soldiers, but also the civilians. And I've now got this moral thing going inside me, going, should I be doing a Hacksaw Ridge type styling, you know, armed walking stick, rocking up to Ukraine with, you know, and try and get to the right people and say, look, there is no cure for PTSD. It don't matter what you do, you've got to assess it, you've got to learn from it, and you've got to beat it. That is the only way forward. But
you got to put it on a leash. Yep. Coming to you and crying, and just there's no sense in putting body armor on and wearing a camera and trying to be vulnerable with that person at the same time. They probably feel very put off by that. Like, wait, I thought you were going to be like comforting, and this is not comforting to see a camera and now body armor. And if you said, well, I'm here to protect myself, that might just trigger somebody even further. So if they see you coming in kind of unarmed, just with your, you know, just who you are, they're probably going to be more receptive to the treatment, right?
Yeah. It's a bit like being a chameleon. You must change your colour to surround what's in front of you. You know, a rhino can go to the flamingo's party. So I have to make some really quick judgments from what I see. Whether it be, are they intoxicated? Are they on drugs? Are they emotional? Are they angry? Are they young? Are they old? What sort of conflicts, you know? And you have to be able to adapt to what you're coming to, right? But what I just try and show more than anything when I walk into these people's lives at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it may be is passion and love more than anything, you know? And being a human, not a robot, not a mental health book, you know, a human, you know, just put your hand on someone, Not all will
Compassion.
engage with that, but sometimes just putting your hand on the shoulder and go, brother, I'm here. I get it. I understand. Is always a good place to start, you know. So as we've gone through, we work on the positives, we decrease the negatives, we move on from the non-changeable negatives, but you know, having them have somewhere to come, somewhere to be, somewhere to be part of, something to belong to. You know, we work as a team, we cook as a team, we laugh as a team, we cry together. We also go out.
That's right.
First couple of years of being down here, I was like very veteran on veteran and quite blinkered by that. Very blinkered. You know, lower ranks helping lower ranks, peer on peer, peer mentoring, buddy on buddy, you know. And just through chance one day, we ended up with some adults with learning difficulties getting in contact and wanting to visit the fort. They'd seen us all over the papers at a local level, seen us on telly, and they decided they wanted to come and meet some veterans. And there was a reason for that, you know. And when they come, some of my most vulnerable guys and girls, some of the most quietest, some of the ones that don't engage too well, I actually saw a lot of warmth and a little bit of inspiration and a little light in their eyes that I hadn't seen before. So I soon very much realised actually it doesn't have to be veteran helping veterans have selfless commitment and self-worth. It can be veterans helping civilians. It can be veterans helping the minorities and the vulnerable civilians. And also doing that, not only do we help, say, adults with learning difficulties and give them a camp and we dance with them and we make stuff with them and we camp with them and we cook with them and we teach them how to build a fire. Not only does it give them a really great experience, but it also shows civilians that aren't naturally know a lot about our community that we are human. We are people, you know, we're not baby killers. We're not this machine, this robot. We are actually people. And veterans helping civilians, disadvantaged civilians, has become a huge part of what we do now. And we go out and we build community gardens and we, you know, if the phone calls, whether it's 285
and these are the veterans. These are the veterans that you're bringing together to do this.
Yeah. Whatever that
to build the gardens. So
whether it's 285-year-old Navy veterans in their 80s, elderly women that could do with a hand painting up their flat, we'll go and do it because it gives them something. It gives us. It teaches these guys new skills, teamwork. You know, for so many people that have got trained by the best military in the world. Okay. And with such team skills, such disciplines, a lot of them have lost that. A lot of them have lost sight of what they were and what they were about. So to put them back in instances where they've got to work together, they've got to get along with each other, they've got to give understanding and sympathy and respect to each other, even if they're not their sort of person. You know, if they're RAF, no one likes RAF. So, you know, you've got to look past the cat bag. You've got to look past the banter. You've got to find something within. And us helping civilians, us helping each other, us working together, us getting new skills is a huge part of what this charity is about. You know, I can't save them all. I've had thousands of veterans walk through these doors in the last 4 years. Thousands and thousands, more than people would ever imagine. We go so much further than what most people do. But there has been a very small selection, maybe 5 or 6, that it didn't matter how much money, how much love, how much cheek turning, how many chances, how many cuddles, how many grippings. They just weren't ready.
And whether it was due to alcohol, whether it was due to drugs, whether it was due to mental health, whether it was just due to poor attitude.
Right.
Yeah. And I've, over the years, I've taken them quite personally, and I've almost felt like I failed people. And I could have done more, and I should have done more, and should I have gone further? Should I have not said that, done this, gone there? But the reality is,
right.
you can only lead that horse to water, Rad, so many times. And if it don't drink, it's going to die of dehydration. And there has been some that I've had to say. We've had one recently that's just ended up back in prison again because despite all our best efforts, he got back on the evil pack, you know, and he ended up back in prison.
Yeah.
And he was a nasty little twat in the end, you know. But the reality is, part of what I'm good at is showing empathy and sympathy. And I realise it's not him that's been a nasty little twat. It's the drugs that make him a nasty little twat. And despite the abuse and the ungratefulness that we got in the end, you know what? I'm still going to write that man in prison. I'm still going to reach out. I'm still going to...
You should.
You might not like me at the moment. You may not. You're still probably very angry with yourself if you're honest, right? And the easiest thing is to blame every other people for your failures. But the day you come out, if you are clean and you want to try again and you want that one more chance, then come and see me, because I will give you that opportunity. Because if people hadn't given me first, second, third, fourth, fifth chances in my life, I wouldn't be who I am today. And that is how I find my love and empathy with some really ungrateful and quite volatile people sometimes. That it's your trauma, it's your mental health, it's your addiction that speaks. There's a Gary inside. You just haven't had that opportunity. You haven't had that Mrs. Weaving to give you love, attention, a chance yet. You know? So we're very proud of what we've created over here in the UK. It's against the grain. If every other person went right, I certainly went left. You know, I didn't want to become part of the problem. I wanted to become part of the solution. And our ideas have been innovative, and we haven't imitated. And it's very easy to imitate with a safe bet. Follow the crowd, follow the rules, don't come out of that safety box. But we've got a million organisations like that, and we wanted to be the ones. You know, Penny Mordaunt wrote a smash hit book called Britain After the Storm during COVID, and it went to every world leader around the world. And she gave every penny of that to charity, and we were recipients. And we actually got a full write-up. And I can't remember the whole text, but there are certain words that I do remember. And it said, forgotten veterans that are leading from the front, forgotten veterans are showing that there's a new way, forgotten veterans that tread where others are fear, and are prepared to go where others won't. And that says an awful lot. It's hard. It's gritty.
It does.
I don't see my family. I sleep more here than I do in my own bed. But I wouldn't change a thing,
Right.
I wouldn't change a thing. And
and your family knows you, you know, and they know that you're there all the time, Gary. They know this is you, bro. Like your family. I'm just going to let you know that I think your family loves you very much. Okay.
Yeah. Someone said to my wife.
Yes, and I'll tell you right now. Yeah, tell me.
Someone said to my wife very recently, she said that you've literally given your husband away. How do you cope with this? Because most women wouldn't put up with it. I put ourselves in a lot of debt to do this. I nearly lost my home over this, you know. But some people call me stupid. Some people call me a saint. But you know what she said? She said, I had my husband leave the army a broken man. He wasn't the confident, loud, funny, inspirational leader. He was a broken shell with no hope and self-worth. He may have sat in my front room for 5 years years staring at the wall, but he was never my husband once. I'd rather have a happy part-time husband than a dead one. And there you got it.
Yeah.
You know, behind every woman is behind every woman.
Well, there you go. You have a good support
Man,
team right
good,
there with her.
Is a good woman. You know, she knew I was different. She knew I was odd. She knew I was a character. She knew that I was probably destined to be more than the hood rat selling the drugs in the prison on the drugs. You know, probably more than just another soldier. And I'm going to keep going. I've got so much more to give. I've got so much more to offer. I need the money. Of course I do. But not to spend on pensions, luxuries, and marble places, to develop this charity.
To fix the yurts and to like, you put that money towards good use to people's lives.
Yeah, of course. I promise to give every penny to the veterans.
Course.
It's their money. It doesn't belong to me. Makes no business sense, but I don't care. It's for them. I give it to them, and I will walk on hot coals for these individuals as long as they're prepared to take off their shoes and socks, hold my hands, and join me. And they feel
now,
that.
Gary,
and it's the difference. They feel that. They really feel the love.
Gary, is there a way that you take donations? Can I have you tell me like we could put it in the blog when we post this up for the podcast, of course, to our listeners. But where could somebody donate, like, some money?
Yeah, by all means. There is details on our Facebook page. There's details on our Facebook group. There's a donate at forgottenveteransuk.com, which is our website. We're just about to build a new one because this charity is moving so quickly we can't keep up with it. But there is a donate button on there. I'd like to hear from more American veterans. Do you know what? I said this to you when I met you before, Red. I'd like to try and raise some money away from our charity, that could get some American veterans to come to Britain and come to and come to Port Cumberland and come and spend some time with us doing what the Brits do, learning our thinking, looking at our mindset, and seeing if just because there's water between us, if it can't be used in exactly the same way. But also to educate ourselves on stuff that the Americans are doing that we may not be doing. Right. You know, I might sound big-headed.
Joint training, cross training.
I might sound like Jesus of the veterans, but life is a learning experience, and I've got a lot more to learn, and I've got a lot more to give. So let's get the boys over from the Americans. There's no T-bone steaks.
That's right.
You ain't getting none of that shit, brother. We call it a fish finger sandwich over here, simple rations, lots of British lovings. And let's see if we can get the Americans and the Brits together to see if we can learn more from each other and see if we can get some of these methods taken over to the States and a different kind of therapy, a different kind of life coaching system brought out to there. Because you never know.
It's so true. It's so true, Gary. If you go back and watch a couple other episodes that I posted, I've talked to a few other former military, Navy SEALs, and some other guys. They have to go outside of the U.S. to do this, but they do like different type of herbal, therapy. So they go to I think it's like Chile or Peru, and they take certain types of, shaman style medicines under, watchful eyes. Yeah. It's all legit. It's just like you can't do it in the U.S. because the U.S. has rules against that plant. So it's like,
well, the problem is,
I think that,
the problem is in the UK, Rad, is we like to play it safe, and that's part of the problem. And we've decided this is what we're going to use, and this is the method. And if you want funding, you'll use this. You won't use anything else. And sometimes you've really got to think outside that box. You've got to try new things. You've got to try new methods. Because who's to say one thing works well for one person but doesn't work for another? And in Britain at the moment, there's this massive trend that everyone gets put into a CBT-shaped hole. And you cannot blanket treat veterans. You cannot. You have to build the therapy, the life coaching, the psychological support around the individual and tailor make it to their life, their mindset, their world. And that's what we do at Fort Cumberland. We build it around the individual. We don't squeeze every individual into one thing.
That's right. Well, I want to say thank you for your time. I know we're across the world talking right now. And Gary, it's been a pleasure to have you as a guest on SOFREP on my radio show. And if I have another opportunity to have you on, we could talk further more about your veterans program that you have over there, which is the Forgotten Veterans UK. And to my listener, Forgotten Veterans UK on Facebook, on the internet, just look that up. Look up Gary, find that donate button. Help him keep this going. And if you are an American veteran looking to team up with someone and ping pong ideas off each other, Gary's your man. All right. So I want to thank I want to thank Big Phil though. I gotta say Big Phil, bro. Big Phil Campion is the reason why we know each other. I gotta throw his name in here. He's gonna listen. He's like, oh, did Rad say my name? This is Rad Cuddles. Where's Rad? Where's Big Rad?
Big Phil is he's a wonderful. He's a monster of a man, and I wouldn't upset him. But actually, when you get to know him, he's got he might have that crusty body armor exterior, but inside there's a massive, massive heart. And you know, people look to me
this big, bro, so big.
People looked at me in the early days and well, this dude is too good to be true. Where's the angle? Where's the hustle? What is he getting from this? Right? But I just stood my ground. I kept on trying. I kept on pushing. And in the end, even Big Phil was like, come here, guys. You know, I'm getting this. I'm feeling this. I get you thinking. And, you know, he wouldn't be sticking his name to this if he didn't believe this was the real deal and really the future. You know, I believe I've got the solution to the veteran crisis. I just need enough money to get behind me, enough people to get behind me, and enough funding and money to really take this to where it should be.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I hope that we can at least make this aware with our podcast. And I want to thank you, Gary, for being a part of this all the way from Fort Cumberland on the bottom of England. So if you're looking at the world map and you're looking at England, at the very bottom, right across from Normandy, sits Portsmouth and Southampton. And right there is where the D-Day invasion and everybody took off. And you're right on the coast, bro. And I just want to say much love to you.
Next time you're in the UK, let's hook up. Come down there, come for a big Uncle Gaz special cuddle. You're a monster of a man, but I can see a good heart also when I see one, all right? You take care, brother.
Well, thank
Love
you.
and respect to
all the
serving Americans, all the serving veterans. Anyone wants to get in comms, I may not be able to fund you. I may not be able to give you the donations, but my time is free. And if I can find enough time in the day to spend with some of your guys, I will give them my time. Respect and love.
Well, straight to love. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to say thank you for tuning in to this episode of SOFREP with Gary. And my name is Rad, saying peace.
Bye.